Hi there, I'm Dani Henderson. Welcome back to my beautiful Disclosure channel. Are you in for a treat today? My friend in the screen is the one and only Mel Minitor, and you will not believe what he has to tell you. I'm going to tell you first, the way I met him was through our beautiful Daniel Brinkley. Daniel Brinkley, the man who's been dead more than anybody else on the planet and lived to tell the tale. And Mel has been by his side for the last 46 years. They are best friends indeed. Welcome, Mel Minitor. How are you, my love?
Thank you. It's my honor to speak to you and your audience.
Uh,
And Daniel has been quite an adventure. We're pushing 47 years, actually since 1978. My wife was there when they covered him up under the sheet the first time, and she was in the hallway where they rolled him out of the ER to go down to the morgue, and there was the elevator there, and that's when his hand fell out from under the sheet. And Daniel has told everybody about uh, him being on top of the cabinet and looking down at his body and watching everything. He was out of his body, and his hand fell out, just muscle reaction, fell out from under the sheet. And when Alice reached down and grabbed his hand to put it under the sheet, he then mumbled, "Alice Ray, I'm on fire." And that's when everybody started yelling, and they rolled him back into the room, and he's back.
yeah, that's incredible. Incredible. And that was
So,
the first time when he came back from Vietnam. As I said to you viewers, if you want to watch the Daniel Brinkley video I did, it's on my channel, on this channel. So just go look, just click on home, click on videos and scroll down. You'll see beautiful, handsome Daniel right there. But yeah, so this was amazing. So Alice is your wife.
is my wife, and Daniel introduced us. And he introduced me 3 years later after she was there the first time. I drove him to the hospital the third time and was with Art Bell and all of them when that went down. And commonalities: don't be around us in a thunderstorm. I got hit by lightning first, but he didn't kill me. So obviously I wasn't as badass as Daniel. Then Daniel got hit by lightning. Then Daniel got hit by lightning. Then my wife got hit by lightning. And just a few years ago at a wedding in front of witnesses, I got hit and flying through the air, and everybody was running to pick me up. And I was told I was a zombie for a week. I don't remember the wedding or anything else. So that kind of runs within our group, our family. So we're all family. But Daniel has been a magical journey all these years. And I've been blessed that he's been supporting me and my mission. I am Metis. For those that don't know what that means I'm part European and part Native American. And 2009, I was nominated and then elected as a peace chief and feathered here in South Carolina by Chief Chavis of the Beaver Creek Nation. And from there, I was just involved in tribal things. And on the weekends, out traveling with Daniel, teaching hospice programs with Daniel all over the country. And so, like your event, I'll be there with him. And I did not done that for many years. And when we had booths, we worked together. So we know each other really well. And when we get around each other too long, people wonder who they're talking to. I had, for a little humor, Steven Seagal called the house one day on Daniel's private house phone. And I answered the phone, and he talked to me for 3 minutes before he figured out, is this Mr. Mevin? And that's the nickname Daniel has for me that came from down in Mexico. So we've had a wonderful experience. I've seen the ups and downs. I see the love, the caring, and these things have led over to me and what I do in the Native American world. And then I was blessed to speak at the Star Knowledge Conference. Daniel was there as well. And from there, the grandmothers found me, Ghostwood's widow, and then swore the words coming out of my mouth was that of Dr. Robert Ghostwood. And I thought at first I had some grandmothers stalking me. They looking me up. I mean, they knew everything about me that was on Google and old newspaper articles from the 70s and all. And I'm like, holy crap. And then she wanted to know where I got my talk from. And it has just been a continued progression of things all the way through. And I had no plans to write a book. I was doing well enough handling Daniel and his book in 21 languages and booking him in his interviews and things. And so the grandmothers told me that I had to write my life story, and that ended up in a book called A Life Most Imagined. And they also titled it the grandmothers, you know, and they got their own way of doing things, and you got to respect them, you know. And they are always about light and integrity, and that was very, very, very important. And I've mingled in with UFO World in some shoots with Unsolved Mysteries. Run the Paranormal Investigators Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, where you're coming to, by the way. And we've had people there from all the sci-fi, all the major movies that was at our event. So I've had some experience in that field. I'm not as steeped in that as a lot of people that have continued in that. I had some things happen when I was doing shoots out in Arizona that was very scary. I had one night a couple hours disappeared. We got from one place to another. We don't know how we got there. Uh, Lady I was working with and shooting with ended up in the hospital with laser cuts. And I had to answer to the doctors and to the police about where we were at and what was happening. Um, so I've seen some really interesting things in the paranormal side. I've always worked to debunk. Uh, People that have headaches in old farmhouses and things, is electrical fields and all of those things that people don't think about, that really, because we're electrical energy, our beings, our heart, everything is electrical, and people tend to forget that. And frequencies and this friggin' cell phone that we got all radiate, and they affect us in our attitude. And what's really going to scare me is where we're going to with AI in the brain chips, because in the Native American world, I have learned to focus on between me and creator, and those things come through. So at this point, they're not the biblical sense of burning bushes. They are just road signs that are there every day if we pay attention. The jerk, wearing a T-shirt passing by you on the street, you might have been thinking about something, and you're going to see the name of it or hear a song on the radio or a billboard. Those signs are there if we have our eyes open and pay attention to these things. So it's been a journey back and forth. I was shooting in the desert 2009 and 2010. And then in between, I'm jumping on planes, running around the country, meeting Daniel and doing those events, in addition to running my other business as well.
Goodness, a very
That's
busy.
a lot. That's a lot for opening. How about that?
That's a big opening and a lot to unpack. So let's go back to the grandmothers in terms of our beautiful Indigenous brothers and sisters. Can you tell us who the grandmothers are? What are the tribes that they represent? Anything else that would be helpful to our audience?
I deal with Ghost Wolf's widow. Her name is Shoshana. She's brilliant. She's 89 years old. And if you've heard her, and she's crippled, but if you've heard her speak, the clarity in mind and fact, the ability to recall is simply amazing. The other grandmother is Annie Whitehawk, who also edited my book. And Annie Whitehawk retired as the senior editor for the Associated Press at the Pentagon. Then there's grandmother Mildred. She lives she's Hopi, lives right in one of the older places, and she clings to the old ways. Her husband, his father, and each of those were the Hopi prophecy keepers. And her son Brian is now the prophecy keeper there in Hopi Villa. So that's my connections with them. So Wolf passed during the winter solstice. Oh, and he got hit by lightning.
Oh, goodness.
He had just finished typing his manuscript, which we're working on now. And the title of it is going to be called Echoes from the Future. And I have the artwork that was in Wolf Lodge, and we had it cleaned up digitally and all of that. So it's in the picture will be Hopi grandmothers on the front cover with their hoops, and the subtitle of it is "Can You Hear Us Now?" It's Echoes from the Future. And this is prophecies that he was writing about late '99 and early 2000, And everybody thinks they know all the Hopi prophecies. Hopi, there was nine, also known as the Nine Thunders, and those have been written about in a number of books. And Ghost Wolf was one of the first people that did it. He was a lightning. He was now considered a lightning shaman. He opened portals. He did ghost dance. He was the first one that opened a portal in over 100 years with all the shaman there. Drumalo, I'm sure you know who Drumalo is. Drumalo was there. Chief Mad Dog from the Cherokee, the Apache, the Chiricahua, the Lakota, the Sioux. You start naming tribes. There was, what I was told, and I wish I had been there, was over 100 chiefs and council at that. And the peace pipe that he carried was used by the Hopi and actually came from the Maya. And Drumalo called me out of nowhere, and I had never met the man. And he said, "You were chosen. You were chosen by the Maya long before you were born." Mm. And I showed you earlier the bundle that carries the peace pipe.
Okay. Show us, please.
This is very, very sacred. We have white buffalo. There is bear. We have our mountain lion cats, and there is other creatures, pelts, skins that are in this because that's mending the animal spirits with this. The pipe itself has Mayan inscriptions on it and symbols, and have not had it carbon dated, not going to. It's too sacred to even mess with anything like that. But I'm told it come from the ancients. And the only thing that's been replaced was the stem.
Okay, that is very special. That this is the Hopi peace pipe of great legend that you are holding in your hands right now.
It is. It is. My chief here in South Carolina at the Council of Chief referred to it as the Holy Grail of peace pipes in America. And when we did the event in Tennessee, which is Cherokee for Tennessee, with Sacha Stone recently, the altar was set with the Hopi blanket that I carry for sacred events. And that pipe was placed on it. A pipe that I have carried for many, many years. This is what I do my ceremonial, my daily, weekly prayers, and all with. This stem was made to match Sitting Bulls, and there's pictures on my Facebook page. I was working with Dan Brokenfeather, who is Cree, and he taught me some of the arts. And there's 12 spirals to represent the 12 councils, except Sitting Bull's pipe was about that much longer stem than mine. There was no way I could have handled it. And I got a little cocky, and it's kind of hard to see, but it was broken. And Mr. Dan, in my early age, in my cockiness and a little younger, not as much wisdom, he took it and he slammed it and broke it in two. And he said, "Fix it." And then I have another stem with this that has a curve in it. And this is a reminder that there was only one that walked among us that was perfect. And so this is very special. I actually put this together, did all the work on this myself. And when I was working on this, my wife kept asking me, I worked on it for days. And she's, "When are you going to finish?" I said, "Creator, let me know when it's done." So since that time, the path that I have been on has been kind of special. I have been more open, and it has taught me a lot that I was missing in my Christian teachings. For those that don't know me, my dad was a hellfire, brimstone, Southern Baptist evangelist, and he was an Army chaplain. I was born on military base. So there was so many questions that I asked, and I was told, unless you confess, you are condemned to hell. And I'm like, wait a minute. How about all the natives along the Amazon and these other countries that was never able to pronounce that name of Christ that you speak of? They're condemned to hell because they had no knowledge, and this is a just and loving God. don't make sense. So I started researching more and I started looking into the Bible and I started finding a lot of things that Bible professors could not answer. And then I started researching more about how the Bible was created. And King James had his motives and what was written into it. And you're so blessed you could go to the Museum of England and see the letters that he wrote his cousin Margaret and so forth. So things was written in to make you pay your taxes, go to war, and all of those other things. 18 years of his of the one they call Jesus, and that's not his name, and I can't pronounce it because there's no J in the Aramaic. So that didn't exist. That was created in the English when I forget which version it was when they did that. But anyhow, all that was put into the scripture to make you follow your leaders and pay allegiance to. And that's where we really got screwed over and stuck. Mm-hmm. And the Native Americans and Hopis believe, and the American government does not want you to know this, there are actual caves with hieroglyphics. There are pyramids in Tennessee, mountains all the way down to Mississippi. There are caves with giants in Arizona and Nevada. And when I say giants, one of the caves has, and this is totally off limits. The government has it off limits. I do know the guy that is the guardian with the Hopi of the caves, and we've had conversations. I have an amulet. That giant that it came from was 14 foot 10 inches tall. They were mummified, fair skinned, red haired. Mm-hmm. So Daniel and I've had conversations about that, believing that might have been like the Nephilim. But there is hieroglyphics, there's plates and all. And the Hopis believe that he came to America because Jesus wasn't poor. I'm going to use that name because that's what everybody knows. He wasn't poor. His dad was the head carpenter for the king. And if you that working for the king and you the head dude, you got to be making some, dinero or whatever. So he wasn't poor. Mary came, her side of the family, they was tied into royalty as well. So 18 years left out. Why would he not have come to America and when he was traveling? And so the Hopis believe, and other tribes as well, that he walked among us and that he came and taught a way of life, not a religion. Yeah. And that religion is that little control mechanism that takes you away from Creator and your focus with one. So all these people talk about, I work on the angelic realm. No, I don't do that. When I'm having a conversation, I go to the source. I talk to Creator himself. I don't need any middlemen helping me or middle women helping me out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So in terms of middlemen, for me, from my perspective, I agree. All these people that say my guide this and my guide that. Okay, great. But also my Pope, my bishop, my shirt lifting cardinal, my Pope, whatever, it's like whatever, get out of the way. We all have a divine right, all of us, no exceptions, to go straight to, as you say, creative source, that beautiful beloved energy that we came from. I've heard the explanation for Jesus and the revelation of his actual name. There are those that live hard by the fact that he is called Yeshua instead of Jesus, and it makes sense. It kind of correlates root language. No J sound.
Wasn't Yeshua the name for God?
No.
And Jesus was the son of.
No.
Yeshua was.
Are you thinking about Yahweh? That's another whole.
Yahweh. I'm sorry. Yes, Yahshua.
Yahweh is.
But there was another name that started with like an H or K.
Hashem.
The way they pronounce
Hashem. Yeah.
There you go.
The 72 names of God. I think it was written by Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yehuda was the one that brought into the kind of modern day the Kabbalah, not the Kabbalah, the Jewish, the ancient tomes and texts, and it was very common and very, very popular at one point about 10 years ago. Madonna was into it. Everyone's wearing the red.
Yeah,
that kind of So that kind of again opened up a lot of thought into some of the ancient texts, and a lot of them have been kind of rolled into each other. But and it's funny because every religion and every thought form, every tribes, ancient tribes, they'll have similar stories everywhere that kind of all sync
It's
up.
like the tablets with the Hopis, because those tablets are to the four corners of the earth. Kilimanjaro, the black folks have. Then you've got the Hopis. I know who the keepers are of the stone tablets. Then the Tibetans have the other one of the other tablets, and and how it all ties together, and what you was mentioning a while ago, it is really amazing, the connectionness. And if one pays attention, that's back to those road signs, the burning bushes, because the Hopi word for moon is the Tibetan word for sun. The Tibetan word for moon is the Hopi word for the opposite. How, I mean, creator, somebody got to have a sense of humor to say, let me throw this out here and see if they can figure this out and where they go to with this. And that's why there are those that are on the path. And I think right now in this day and time that there are many are chosen. I believe in reincarnation. Um, in scriptural, it was believed up until Constantine, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when they was worried about whether they was going to have to atone for what they were doing. And that's when all that stuff got pushed out, because since he was the king, he could speak for God, and we just sweep that one out, you know. So, oh, the scripture that I was thinking of, that was from the Gutenberg Bible, I believe it was, when they made those changes.
Right.
So, but we just got to stay focused, and we got this inner spirit in us. And once we start understanding and we start trusting that, then we become more aware of those things around me. And the most wonderful thing the grandmothers made me do is go back and refocus on my life, because all my life being around Daniel, I was being gifted all these things. And I was like, damn, this is kind of cool traveling with him and all these wonderful things that I'm getting. Everything from this choker here that came from a shaman, and that's in my book. It's a magical story, and that's from the shaman down in Cusco, and a piece of the blaze plate of the altar at Monte Picchu, and then I got a bag over here from the Dalai Lama that he sent for it, and then all my drums and everything, from the Navajo code talkers to the Cherokee medicine flags. All of these things have been gifted to me over the years, and it wasn't till the grandmothers set me down and I started going through that everything started connecting. And then all of a sudden I realized this was a path, this was a road sign, and now I've connected the dots. And it helped bring spirituality and everything together when you start expanding your consciousness and don't put limitations on yourself. And when I was doing the closing prayer for Sachi and them, that was one of the things that I said: do not put limitations. When you do, you have limited yourself. The Christ said, anything I can do, you can do. I've got broken up pretty bad in that last hurricane that we had, tornado that came through, and I was couldn't drive for 6 months. This was just last year because I broke my leg in a few places.
Oh my God.
And
How did
the
that
doctors,
happen in the hurricane? What happened? What was the situation that created that?
tree fell and the ground gave and my leg went down and it flipped me to the right. So it broke sideways all the way down into my ankle. And then the doctors told me I had to have plates and pins. And I told him, well, it wasn't going to happen. I said, put me in a cast, get it straight, put it in a cast. I will heal myself. So he had a few choice comments about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he got referring to I'll be a fool. But I had broken that in a bad accident some years back, which I knew the status then. I had blood clots. I was getting 5 shots a day in my stomach, blood thinner. I was riding on a motorcycle through the mountains, and I went around a curve, road I didn't know, and I come around a curve, and there is a pothole. You know what potholes are in the
Yes, we have tons of them, and the roads are dreadful. Totally full.
I caught a pothole. I came up in the air. My bike flipped around a few times. I took a barbed wire fence, cracked my helmet in 3 places. I messed up my hip, my coccyx, tore the vertebrae in my neck, tore the rotor cup, and the blood clots in my right leg and all of that. So I went through all of that. Then it was drugs, and I got sick of the soap operas and all that used to be on TVs in the old days, and you laying there in the hospital for months, and that's all there is. So when this happened, I knew that my bone structure was too thin and too weak from the previous fragmentation. And I knew there was stuff that wasn't showing up in the x-rays because I told them they needed to turn certain ways. So I had him set my leg in a cast, and I started taking all my vitamins, my trace minerals, my electrolytes, making sure I had my calcium and all the other stuff. I talked to a toxicologist friend, and she recommended certain things I do to help with my bone healing and what absorbs, what doesn't absorb. And I started that. So instead of wearing a cast normally for like 4 to 6 weeks, I did, and 2 more weeks beyond. Went back in, they done x-rays, and my leg was growing back together. Not complete. Give me another cast. They put me another cast, and I went through another 4 weeks. Then I went to a boot for about 4 weeks, then a leg brace. Then I went to the doctor's office, and I go walking in, and I'm skipping around. I'm moving pretty good, unless the weather, I don't feel pain. And the doctor looked at me and he says, "How you doing?" I said, "A whole lot better than you. My appointment was canceled for 2 weeks because you couldn't walk." And I'm laughing at him. And I reached out and I said, "Here, doc, I brought you a book. Maybe you need to read this and learn that you can heal yourself, because Creator said anything I do, you can do if you have faith." People don't have faith, and they put limitations on themselves. And that's why I incorporated that into that prayer, because we must be awakened to know that we are powerful spiritual beings. Wow. And those that follow Daniel know that each week we put out our little thing every Tuesday morning on breath with the thought, because your breath, Daniel will tell you, you are one half a breath away from going to the other side. So that breath is sacred. So when you breathe in and you breathe in with that conscious intent, that is creating an energy field that is energy and frequency, and it multiplies into the universe. So when we was in that room in Tennessee and dealing with other issues and all, Creator said, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I'm in the midst." Well, I looked over to my physicist and I said, "Excuse me, is this not a multiplier?" And that with all these people, when we all put this conscious intent, that we are become a very powerful tool for what we're focusing on. And so these are things that are important that most people miss. And that's why I had faith that my bones would grow back together and we would do what it would do, what it was supposed to do. And it did.
That's amazing. So many incredible things here. I'm glad we mentioned the grandmothers, Annie Whitehawk, Ghost Wolf Widow, Shoshan, and Milna.
Shoshana.
Shoshana.
And she run, and by the way, she ran the drug alcohol program, federal program for the Navajo Nation. And she, at one point, was the largest bead distributor in the United States. So everybody that's got bead work and all from back in the, I believe, 90s and in that era, most likely your beads came from her imports. And she was the first one that came with the new bead work out and the smaller stuff, because before they were using the big stuff and running, the sinew and all that through it. So they're revolutionized.
Okay, I'm going to come at you with 3 things, okay? And I'm going to say them all at the same time, and you're going to pick the one you want to answer first. I want to know about the flag behind you and the symbol. I would like you to get the peace pipe out, please, the ancient Hopi peace pipe. I'd also like you to tell us, why were you given the name Chief Standing Eagle? Over to you, Mel.
Okay. This is a medicine flag. It also represents the 4 colors, the 4 races, the red, the white, the black, and the yellow. Standing Eagle, I was named by Eagle Soaring, grandfather Wallace Black Elk, in them years back when I was traveling with Daniel. I knew not what I was getting into. But Chief Sonne Reyna was appointed by Jimmy Carter to represent the indigenous people before the UN. And he did ceremony for me, and it was right after Chief Louie feathered me as a peace chief. And so Sonne Reyna, knowing what I was doing here, jumped in on it. They all came to Charlotte, North Carolina with ICANN, International Channel, and about 5 million people received me receiving another choker that Chief Sonne Reyna made for me and presented more feathers. So that's how that came into place. And they named me Chief Mel Standing Eagle, bringer of spiritual messages. And I didn't quite understand that at that point. And no one really started calling me peace chief. Chief till later, because I was just Mel Standing Eagle peace chief. And then all of a sudden I started doing work intertribal with other chiefs and all, and doing ceremonies. And then they started putting that on the front. And the grandmother said, "You don't have a Facebook page. You got to create that. World's got to know who you are, why you're our chosen one." So Wolf wrote in several of his books. He wrote Through the Eye of Shaman, and he wrote another book, Last Cry. And those books make references to a light skin from the East. And I was talking with some chiefs together in Tanasi 2 weeks ago. And one of the chiefs said, "We see you as a bridge among races, because you can work and talk with almost anyone." And that was a statement also that I was honored that Sacha made a statement about me and that natural. And I just leave it to spirit. I had planned a speech for that event, and I read one quote out of 3 pages. Dr. David Martin took one of my pages about Leonard Peltier and wrote his notes for his speech on there. So anyhow, I was honored by them. I was honored again by the Blackfeet. And then the grandmothers, after watching me and hearing me speak at the Star Knowledge Conference, they decided I was the one. I didn't know anything about the peace pipe. I didn't know anything about any of those late grandmothers. I had found out that there had been several people that had journeyed out to the reservation, and one guy who had a, quote, psychic wife was there, and they showed up, and she says, "I had visions about my husband, and he's the one to carry the pipe in the legacy." And then some guy from Canada came down, and I just learned about him recently when the grandmother shared, yeah, he showed up, and I'm like, holy crap. So I was chosen, and at first I used to laugh. I could not believe those things. I will not assemble this pipe. I have no problem showing you the pipe, but it is only put together with stem and pipe for ceremony only. And this is not for any daily use, and I only use it when I am in the presence of serious ceremony with chiefs as such. So
thank you very much for doing this. We really
I will have to pull the bundle out. Everything is woven and tied. Let's lay this out first. The sacred tobacco, Chinook, is a mixture of spices, and it is kept in this little container with all the little Hopi, and this is all beadwork from them. Then let's reach over, untie. This is a chore. And this, and I will have to try to get close to the camera so that you can see the bear claws and all the other symbols that was okay. And this pipe is just totally amazing. Now I have another pipe that I've been commissioned to do some repair work on, and it has lead work insignia in it. And I traced it back to the 1860s, and I reach out to archaeologists, to museums, and anybody that may be up on Native history. But Drumelo was part of the ceremony when this was used at Ghost Dance. So, and like I said, when all the chiefs was together, this was the pipe. The
What is it made
stem,
of, Mel? What is the wood?
that's not wood. This is a pipe stone, and most of it is mined, I think, around Michigan, in that area, and it's a pipe stone, and quite heavy, quite heavy. So, and this is not the original stem, and there is eagle feathers that hang from here when it's assembled, but this is all with the Hopi beadwork, and again, more buffalo.
Mm.
And this is not something that is common on peace pipes. Most of them will have some beadwork, may have uh, a feather or two, but not with the white buffalo.
Right.
And that's what's made this so unique and very special. So, and to be able to carry it and feel the energy, because this comes from the ancients. And oh, something else really remarkable happened. When Ghost Wolf, after he got hit by lightning, it came in through his computer. He
Whoa.
had just finished the manuscript, and it took him 4 days to pass. And the Hopis was all gathered around his house. They were doing a ceremony, doing prayers, had their fires going, and they literally brought a grate in the house with hot coals and everything, and put the blanket and held the blankets over Wolf while he was working his transition. And they did something that has not been done. He was buried in a Mayan crypt. That does not happen. So the fact, and he was mixed, a lot of Italian in him, and some groups didn't like that. Some groups, the young people, and I have issues with casinos and various other things because I call it the government teat. They feed off of it. They give them a number, and the Native American population has been screwed over, screwed over, and screwed over by the governments.
Yeah.
And this is true worldwide. All indigenous
It's
First
called
Nations.
genocide, Mel. It's called genocide.
True, true. So then came a president, Hollywood actor, Mr. Ronald Reagan, and had a good heart. And he felt that the Native American people had been done a great wrong, and he wanted to pay off treaties and try to make things right with the Native American people. And lo and behold, they found out they owed the Native American more money than the U.S. government had. So they created casinos. Of course, with casinos, you got the big boys, the mafia boys, and everybody else try to move in. And if you go into most of the casinos, you find very few Native American people working in casinos. They're everybody else. And they're given a number. You own a roll and you're given a number. Now, by the way, that only applies to certain federal tribes. There are many state tribes that no one gets anything. They get no help with schooling, no medical or anything else. If you get medical and you can't afford it, you're getting welfare treatment. That's the reality of the Native American world. And there's many still living in the deserts and mobile homes with no air conditioner, and it's out there 120 degrees. And there's people living in teepees. A lot of people don't know this. There is thousands of people that still live in teepees in America along the Colorado River and all on the reservations. And no electricity. You might see an automobile parked near a teepee so they can go do some work and create stuff. But there's many of them that still live in there that do not. There's people in the Hopis that still have the old cave housing and all. They still live. There's places that with absolutely no electricity. If they got anything, they got a little solar panel to charge the cell phone up and stuff like that. And what's really interesting is those that went modern initially started getting sick, and everything else started happening when the electric lines and all went through the grids because their bodies was not accustomed to those fields that we in our everyday take for granted and we don't realize how it affects us. And that's just an example of what is around us, and it's killing us.
Going
So
back.
let's see. Which question did I miss? I think I covered three of them.
Got them all. Well done, sir. Well done. And thank you for sharing the peace pipe with us because that's something very beautiful that I know a lot of people would just have been so curious and keen to get inside that bag and look with respect, of course, because the ancient.
Everything about that must be with respect. It gets saged, it gets blessed before it gets assembled. There, it has to have its proper etiquette,
Yeah.
and it's done in a proper way, a
You know,
proper manner.
one of the things in my life thus far that gives me the single greatest joy is knowing that the mass genocide of all our native indigenous brothers and sisters, all of their languages, their culture, their beauty, was not destroyed. They failed. I know many lost their lives. I know things had to go underground, but it gives me joy that they did not win, Mel. They did not win. And all the tribes are coming back bigger and stronger.
We are coming back. We are coming back. It, sadly, there's a big difference between the mentality of Midwestern Native Americans versus Eastern. Here, there's only one reservation in South Carolina, and it's the Catawba, and it's right at 1,000 acres. That's not much considered. Versus out in the West, you got thousands and thousands of acres. Many Native Americans here, like me, I live in a subdivision. I live on a street corner, houses all around, and there's no one in my neighborhood that plays Native American music except me. They hear my drum stuff every now and then. They got to tolerate it.
Yeah.
They got to, because I'm not going to change. So our language for us on the East, 95% of all the tribes have lost their language. They don't know anything of their language. So they are reassembling, and we're studying, we're learning the ways, and we're blending. And when I went to the grandmothers, I felt so inadequate to deal with because I had not studied, I did not know proper customs, and I was so worried initially that I was just going to screw up, and oh my God, everybody in the world, all in the Native American world, they're going to want to friggin' scalp my ass and send me to Europe or something. But spirit, I left it open to spirit. So the video, and a lot of things we do is not allowed to be video because of ceremony, but because the grandmothers was out there and they shipped those things to me, and I still got boxes coming in. Over here to my left, I got a box full of cassette tapes from the old Coast to Coast days. I got old cassettes of the Prophecy Keepers from the 80s and all, having conversations. And in time, I've been buying gear. So I'm going to be putting some of that stuff together and putting it on MP3 and putting it online so that the world will have access to this. But we are two separate worlds in the United States, in the Native American. So when I went out to the reservation, the older elders was willing to accept me. The young crowd, he's too light-skinned. He can't be one of us. And you would not believe the discrimination, racial discrimination, that is even within the tribes. Back to the casinos. They are so many of them that are on the government teat or the casino teat. They get their checks every quarter. So there's no reason, they don't need to work. So what are they going to do? Sit around and smoke cigarettes, do drugs, drink alcohol, and they've turned a lot of reservations into alcoholics. And back to the word genocide, they're still killing them all. And I was talking with a few chiefs, and I told them, I was talking about several tribes. I said, 30 years from now, those tribes will not exist, because the problem is those that are attending tribal events are not the young people. They're the older ones. And thank God we have a few young ones that are coming in that we're bringing in. But for the most part, they listen to hip hop, rap, and everything else that they're doing in the regular public school. Versus if you were on the reservation out on the Sioux Nation, Lakota, or any of the others, you're going to a native school. Thank God you don't have the Catholics in there beating the crap out of them and slapping them and killing them. And And they're still finding bodies of Native American children from the old schools buried away that nobody, and they were just given a number and a name because they weren't allowed to even utter their own name or in their own language. So they really did a great job of whitewashing the history and all. So we're working to bring the tribes together. And I've had a couple of people address me because some of the music and stuff we were playing was not Native American, but it incorporated some of the Indian, Far East, and other tribes. And my job as a peace chief, a Rainbow Warrior peace chief, is to work through all the tribes and our differences and look for commonalities of what we can do to help restore Mother Earth. So I am consulting. I've done some building. I've done commercial building, churches, shopping centers, houses, subdivisions. In my old days, I was in some of that. So I'm consulting now on several projects that are government type projects with veterans, and I'm looking at incorporating Native American entities in that, in products that we can use that are natural. We got to get away from the plastics that are killing our oceans. I mean, they're literally destroying, they're choking, and they don't break down. Versus if you use plastic made from hemp or from bamboo, it will break down typically in about 59 to 60 days. Other benefits. And here again, the government and those that was in power that was growing cotton and those that was in the newspaper industry and all of that, that's why they started doing all the pine trees and all that and growing them, and they was using that to make paper. Our Constitution in America was written on hemp paper. Mm-hmm. They found out that bed linens made with hemp at the VA harbored 73 bed linens made with 73% hemp and 27% poly harbored less bacteria than cotton and other products. So when people start being educated and they start understanding, and Daniel was in a meeting with the VPs of Boeing and Donald Trump and everybody, and some of them got mad because he was talking to Trump, and he says, if you can't talk and work things out, why are we here? Why are we even attempting to do anything? We must have communications work together, regardless who the president or anything else is. So everybody talks about carbon neutral credits all over the world. That's the big thing in industry. Europe and China, they the worst. I mean, all the smokestacks. But here, our planes, Boeing, the inside's made of what? Poly. Mm-hmm. So if they switch over and take that poly out of all the United planes and all the Delta planes and start converting these over and putting the new ones in, and they start going with the hemp plastic, they can get carbon neutral credits. So we're looking at using their tools that they throwed out to put their money people in place to take and rebuild First Nations. And that's what Sasha's doing in Africa. And I'm now on that, working with the council on those things that we are able to work and organize First Nations worldwide with a common goal of helping one another. I got attacked. I got attacked last week by a lady because I wasn't preaching the name of Jesus Christ to all those heathens. Excuse me.
What a wicked woman. That's just so wicked and so ignorant. I'm so tired of these silly people, honestly. I saw something, I was reading something, and it was like, repent. I'm like, oh, shut up and sit down. You go repent in the mirror, you boring old bag. We got stuff to do. Now, regarding the hemp, when the world learns that the cotton fields replaced hemp, when the world learns that hemp is the most powerful, beautiful, miraculous plant on the entire planet, I'm into hemp myself, hemp farming myself.
Sure.
It's the way. It's the way. It's the way.
It's clean up. It cleans up. It removes the impurities in the soil. And everyone thinking they're eating organic foods. Mm-hmm. Oh, I buy organic. Bullshit. Can I say that? I'm sorry. It's not. It's true. It's true. It's not organic because it is contaminated soils with all the cloud seeding and everything else. It's going to heavy metals. It's falling in the soil, and people don't get it.
Yeah.
So hemp cleans it up, and that's the important thing. And I'm glad you're hemp farming. And the project that I'm consulting on, I wanted to know about hempcrete, hemp fiberboard that could be used on the projects, and all that. Anything that will help First Nations become profitable and self-sufficient. Now,
Mm.
what's going to happen with Big Pharma and all these other people? They better get on the program, because Trump's big new deal that everybody's screaming and freaking out, it's going to bankrupt. It's going to bankrupt everybody, and he don't care. And honestly, knowing what I know, I don't care either, because who are they bankrupting? The Bilderbergers and all the people that control the Federal Reserve, which is a privately owned bank that
Yeah.
has their corporate office is not even in the United States.
Yeah.
So knowing those things, if they bankrupt the evil, then that gives us a new plate, a new start. And we are that last line, because if it's not for us, the world's doomed. We're back to the days of Lemura and what went down there. And the same thing happened, from what I understand, in Atlantis.
Mhm.
So, and that's more native stories, which I don't even want to get into at this time, because I'm still investigating some of that stuff.
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of the truths have come to the surface, Lemuria, Atlantis, who destroyed it, where that comes from, what off-world ETs or whatever, Anunnaki, whatever, it's all out. And people are sorting through, and they're finding again that a lot of the legends lovingly blend and merge together. We were always trained, programmed decades and generations to separate, separate, separate. And of course, we're one family with our different beautiful ways, and we're coming more to learn that. Let's go back to talking about Ghost Wolf. You mentioned that he was a great man. What tribe was he, and what was his book called that he was finishing as he was electrocuted by lightning?
That book, when it comes out, will be called Echoes. I mentioned it
Oh,
earlier.
yes.
Echoes from the Future. Let's see some of his book. This is Through the Eyes of the Shaman. They can go to lightstreamers.com, and to my website. You'll learn about me, some about Ghost Wolf. And this is one of the books that makes reference to the light skin from the East. Then this is Last Cry. And it goes into the red and the blue kachina, which is the prophecy from the skies and the changes. And when I received the chanupa that I'm carrying, there was those that said they saw the blue kachina in the sky. Let's see, another one of his books, Winds of Change, um, which is, if you see my video and you hear the music playing with the flute and the guitars, that song's called Winds of Change. It was written for me by a Choctaw brother. So I use that and let's see, I have a manuscript here in pieces. I mean, when I say pieces, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
And this is Days of Destiny.
Mm.
So that's that. And then there's another one that I don't, it's in the house. So I'm out in my shop now. So
Okay.
anyhow, there's those. And so the grandmothers, like I said, they chose me, and I told my life story, and all through it, I wove in things. And people don't realize people like Edgar Casey.
Mm.
Everybody talks about Edgar Casey, but and this is a quote that I put in my book. By awakening the Native American teachings, you come to the realization that the earth is not something simply that you build upon and walk upon and drive upon and take for granted. It is a living entity. It has consciousness.
Mhm.
Edgar Case. And by the way, cotton, 1/3 of pesticides in America is used for cotton crops because the bugs eat the crap out of it. So more pollutant, more pollutant. And let's see, hemp doesn't need pesticides. It doesn't need fertilizers because it's natural.
Yeah.
And again, this was all about greed and big money and
Yes.
all the big pharma boys that are bought into everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely shocking, shocking. Let's talk briefly about the Star Knowledge Conference and your participation in that.
It was a very small part. I walked in there and it was all magical. I saw a bear skin, and I come walking in, wearing one of my necklaces that is nothing but bear claws, and it was gifted to me by Dan Brokenfeather, the tree elder that I was working with on the pipes and the stems. So star knowledge was really something that I was not expecting, but it was a short talk, but it changed my entire life and everything that was going on. And it kind of catapulted me into a more national and then into an international arena. So now I've got the Cambodian White Dragon healers reaching out to me. Gundi Gunderson, I taught with him, modern mystery schools in Japan. And then I've got various leaders in Australia, First Nation people that I'm now in communication with as a result. So one of the grandmothers that was at our event, she's in Europe now for the next 2 months, grandmother Nejra, and she and I are having conversations, and we're going to start compiling uh, documents to help people with what they're growing, what they're eating, to help them become more natural and get back to the ways of what Creator provided. And we feel as Rainbow Warriors, we are enough voice where 2%, 3% of population come together, they can change everything. So that is our goals, not to shut down economies, not to tell people they can't drive automobiles. Let's become more efficient. Toyota just come out with a car that runs on hydrogen.
Yeah.
Hello. And what are you putting out? Nothing that's hurting Mother Earth, you know? So we can be real smart about that. Batteries, Tesla, those batteries are mined off of the backs of slaves and children. If they paid attention, you can make hemp batteries. And batteries made of hemp are just as powerful and will do everything that one needs to do as well. So it's getting down to educating and getting these companies to want to step up and be conscious to make a difference. People like Bill Gates, they should be tried for.
God. Monster, monster, Fauci, monster. These are some of the most disgusting, evil, non-human specimens on our beautiful planet. And people need to
In human form, they are wicked. And Gates just said there's no need to have the Gates Foundation after 2040. He'll probably be dead by then, hopefully. I'm sorry. I know I'm not. I'm speaking for me. He needs to go. He's evil. He's a leech upon the earth. And what he's done to those women and tribes in Africa, making people sterile and all the
decide, I'm sorry, you're too black, you have to go. The atrocities to the African, the motherland, the African people, it is beyond. And
shaming them into bleaching and they shaming them into bleaching themselves and all of that, which they don't need to be bleached out in that sun in the African climate. Come on. They reworked their brains and changed what they should be thinking to fitting their modality and their system so that these people are corralled and controlled. And that's what Gates and them has done. And it's past time that they all should be exposed for their crimes against humanity. Fauci knew in 2005, did documents in 2005. Everybody knows it. It's now public knowledge. And why he is not in Gitmo and why he's not on a gallows, along with Bill Gates and about a dozen others that I can name off.
And then they have all the random silly stories that the CIA drop in or the FBI or idiot people, like, oh, they're all in Gitmo, they all been beheaded. No, they haven't. Oh, they're all clowns. No, they're not.
I'm tired of hearing that.
Boring. It bores the arse off me. People think they know, they don't know. They listen to a story, they repeat it over and over and over, and it becomes their truth. They've got no connection to it. They've got no proof. This is one of the biggest problems of humanity and social media. people just repeating things they hear and believing complete lies and really hurting and harming people because they don't have the information. They're listening to somebody who might be more famous than the person he's criticizing, let's say. It's an absolute travesty. But it's so great that there's people like you and me on the planet with really big mouths and a lot of passion and a lot of love for our human family. And we speak out and we take action and we do the best we can. And we rattle a few demons on the way. We piss a few people off, but that's what it is, right?
Hey, if you can't do the dance, get out.
One
So,
person, one person who does that, we both know, is Sasha Stone. I can't even say his
yeah,
name without laughing.
there's one thing I want to just say because I know we got to wrap up, and this is from the Hopi, and
Hmm.
it goes back to what Daniel and I preach every Tuesday that we send out on breath. And this is Hopi. Take the breath of the new dawn and make it part of you. It will give you strength.
Hmm.
So don't argue your limitations. Know that Creator gave us the ability to do and be the change. And it is up to us to be that change because if we don't, our children and the next generation, and we can't even think about 7 generations with the course that the world is currently on. So we are the chosen ones in the here and now. The grandmothers chose me, and then I chose to walk that path. So we as individuals we were chosen to be here. We have opportunities put before us. So we all need to work together as one. And one last plug, if they want to know about writing some more Ghost Wolf, every week I'm posting on my Facebook, Chief Mel Standing Eagle, PC, quotes from Wolf with my updated of what is going on. And we are now, like I said, starting to form groups. We're starting to communicate together. And as we work together, we can bring more industry, get industry to change. It doesn't take major retooling to use him,
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
So, so thank you so much for your time and anything else you want to throw at me, I'll be happy to answer.
Oh, no, thank you. It's been so lovely to have you and to share you. And when I met you, I was just so thrilled by your beautiful energy and your complete passion. And I thought, oh my God, I have to invite you on my channel. I have to share you with my audience. I'm sure many of them know you, but there'll be others that don't because not everyone knows who we are in the world, of course.
That's
Um,
true. That's
and so
true.
the more that we, find good people like yourself and spread that loving, joyous energy. And I can see why you and Daniel Brinkley are best friends. You both have a very similar energy, frequency, and vibe. And plus, you're the
It
light.
always compliments, it weaves, and Creator's got a sense of humor. Daniel does not understand human thinking. He doesn't because he is so analytical. Everything is with strategies and laterals and systematic. That's why Daniel worked in defense intelligence and was a senior military advisor and all of that. So, me, I always went with heart, and he used to get so ticked off. And I mean, he grit them teeth, and he's like, damn it, I don't understand how you do that. I said, Spirit, make sure that when I start to slip, that somehow or another my leg step out in front of me and I keep on going. And as long as we believe and we hold to the faith, we're going to have screw ups, perhaps going to be thrown at us, but it's what we do with what's we thrown with and how we interpret it and what we leave from what happened. That is the difference. So,
Amazing, amazing.
love you, Danny.
Love you too, darling. And just tell us one more time the Facebook group that people can join.
Sure. My Facebook is Chief Mel Standing Eagle PC. So, again, thank you. All the best to everyone there. May you be blessed. Please keep your eyes open and know that every little thing you do makes a difference with all that live upon Mother Earth.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mel Minitor. And to you, beautiful people out there, lots of love to you as always, from my heart to your heart. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you soon. Thank you, Mel.